Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of SEO 911. And this special episode, we're gonna discuss something that is very important for your business. Okay, how you master the SEO in 2025. The strategies to scale your business rapidly. Okay, this podcast is brought to you by SEOcon Forum Bali 2024. It's gonna happen in this December. If you haven't got the ticket yet, you can check it out at seocon.id. And for today, we have a special guest. He's the expert in management and business strategy for over a decade of experience. He has been working with business leaders worldwide to achieve one goal: simplify their management process and build high performance team. And today episode, we're gonna explore critical topics such as SEO success in 2025 and how successfully scale your company fast. Please welcome our speakers, Matt Singers. So help me welcome Matt Singers. Hi, Matt.
Hello, Ryan. How are you?
I'm doing good. So happy to having you here for this interview. Heard a lot about you. You're the legend
All
on
good,
this
sure.
industry. So maybe some of our listeners is not familiar with who you are. Maybe you can introduce yourself.
Yep, of course. So my name is Matt Singers, and I'm a management coach. That's my true passion. I own a whole bunch of companies in the world of SEO. So I have my management consultancy company, Matt Singers Management. I run the conference in Saigon in Vietnam, which is called the SEO Mastery Summit. I own a couple of SaaS tools. One of them is called Hey Rap, which is great for management. And then recently, I've become part of the Localo team, which is a local SEO tool as well. So I have plenty to look after, and I'm always eager to build teams and grow teams. And this is what I help other people do as well. Really get themselves sort of out of the mess of, instead of being in the business, actually enable them to work on the business. Many people say this a lot, but I don't believe that many people are uh, at the stage where they are able to do that, and that's definitely my core mission.
There's one part that is very important: how to build the team. Because I feel I know how it feels to build the team. Yeah, it's a hard work. But well, what do you think about the people, the management? Uh, People say that managing the people currently is quite harder than before. In your perspective, what do you feel?
I think managing people is probably easier than it have ever been. I think technology definitely make things easier in my experience. Um, I think the big difference the big thing that have changed over the last couple of years, obviously with COVID, is there's a lot more remote work. And the thing is, if you're a good manager, working remotely is typically not a big difference from working sort of within an office. However, if you're not a good manager, you often get a lot more out of people being in an office, right? So it's definitely an extra sort of encouragement to people to upskill their management skills, whether you're a business owner, a manager, a leader within a company. It's definitely a huge benefit learning better management, particularly if you're working with a remote company, right?
Yeah, remote workers is everywhere now. Even some people are that we interviewed is still asking whether they can have remote or not. But in my perspective, this is my perspective. I cannot do with the remote worker. Maybe my uh, well, in my thought, the people that working remote, especially for us in Indonesia, it's quite hard. Like, can you manage them well? How to do the task list? What tips that you can give for me to managing the people easier? What's the first step that you will suggest to me?
I mean, I think the key area is definitely is about getting to know and understand different people, because reality is when you're managing people, one of the most important things is to be able to understand who are they, how do they behave, how are they motivated, and how do they communicate? Because as people, we're all different, and that's definitely a big part of what I usually work with people on, right? The second thing is definitely a lot around delegation. So most managers are not very good at delegating. They often end up what I call the spider in the middle. So it's like they have some staff, something goes down, the staff member do something, and it comes back up, but the staff members don't actually have ownership and responsibility for it, right? And that's not a good situation. So if you're a manager or if you're a business owner, and if you're in that situation where you know hiring one person make you more busy instead of making you more effective, because you have to check everything and you have to, you end up essentially following up on all of the work all the time. Then typically what you're not doing well is delegating, because when it comes to delegating, it's all about delegating responsibilities rather than tasks, right? So when you're having a team, your goal is to give them clear ownership of certain areas of the business that they are then responsible for. And when they're responsible for a specific output. And as a manager, you can then measure that output. So, for example, if let's take some SEO terms, right? If you have a team of link builders, for example, their goal is to build a certain quantity of links every month or every week or every day or whatever. And you want to measure the outputs of what they're doing, not focus so much on exactly how they're doing what they're doing, right? So the goal is that when you have a team of good people, you want to give them clear expectation to what that needs to be delivered from a numbers perspective, from a quality perspective, and then you want to let them go do it, right? So obviously you can sometimes train them, you can often show them what you've been doing so far, but essentially what you want to make them responsible, and you want to put them in a position where they are in charge of what they need to deliver, right?
So base focus on the that's really good one. So so if you can share with me that you work with a lot of companies, like you hold several important roles as well in the company.
Yeah.
What do you think that what's the first thing that you prioritize to make the business running well? They can scale. What is your main focus?
Yeah, the main focus is getting the right people on the bus, right? Like you need to hire great people. A lot of time, new entrepreneurs have a challenge with they're so focused on resumes, so focused on experience, but the best people are rarely the ones with the most experience, right? Best people is often way more about attitude and mindset and so on. And if you have ever worked with a great person or two, which I hope you have, you know that a great person is someone who can figure stuff out. It's someone who they see a problem and they figure out how to solve it, right? Like that's the attitude and mindset. Like someone who just comes to you and say, "Hey, boss, I don't know what to do. There's a problem. I don't know what to do. Fix it for me." They're not going to be very valuable long term. So it's all about finding great people with a great attitude that have the ability to figure things out and have sort of the proactivity to proactively look at new things and so on.
So basically, it's the people, the attitude. But I think you agree that the skill can be they can learn easily to grow their knowledge, right? So
Most skills. I mean, so when you're looking at certain skills like development, like you might not want to hire someone who never developed to be a developer, right? They need a certain level of skill in a role like that. But just because someone have 2 years experience and the other one have 10 years experience doesn't necessarily make the 10-year experience a better person, right? So as long as they have the core baseline skill, it's way more important that they have the right attitude and mindset and so on, right? For most roles, for most jobs, people can learn on the job relatively easy, right? So if you have the right type of person, you don't necessarily need um, a particularly high level of skill. So like across our companies, like we probably have about 300 people in total across the companies I own and manage. And between that, like many people have no education, right? It's not necessarily an educational, or it's not necessarily an experience thing. It's really about finding good mindset, good attitude, and sort of a very strong can-do attitude and strong work morale, right?
Mm-hmm. So, how you built that? Well, you said you got the 300 people in your under you. How you maintain or how you build the team? Like how to get them into the become the part of the team? How they can scaling up? Is it in your experience? Is it based on? Is it that you train them well, or you choose the right people and then train them well, or what's your process?
Yeah, I mean, you need to hire good people. I think, again, management experience, right? So in my management training, I focus a lot on understanding people, understanding individuals, because to get the right people, that there's multiple things behind it, right? Because not all people are great at all things. Like by nature, we're born with certain genetics, and some of those genetics means that we have certain sort of personal things we are very good at, and some things we're not so good at. So, for example, some people are extremely detail oriented, and some people are not. Now, for some roles, detail orientation might be very important. Again, some people are very assertive. They're very comfortable going out talking to people and so on, and other people are not, right? So in some roles, that's important. So there's both the aspect of understanding people well, so that you don't take good people and put them into the wrong roles, right? So that's definitely a key part of it. There's a lot to be said for good hiring and recruitment process, because in the end of the day, recruitment is definitely the most important thing, or one of the most important things you do as a business owner, right? Because again, if you have a team with three great people, or you have a team with three bad people, uh, that those businesses will look completely different, right? So finding great people is one of the most important missions, and as soon as you have great people, the rest of it honestly becomes 100
Mm,
times easier. So,
yeah.
so investing time, effort in learning to become a better hirer, learning to become a better recruiter, a better, also a better manager, but really learning how to spot good people and learning how to hire great people. That's probably one of the most important skills to invest in as a business owner. Wherever you feel you're good at it or not so good at it is actually less relevant. The core thing is you have to understand it's a very critical and important skill, and it is definitely worth investing time and effort to improve yourself in that direction.
Okay. Now back to the SEO. If we're building the SEO team, well, uh, the SEO skill is there are a lot of people are talking about SEO, like from the black hat, the gray hat, the white hat, and everything. Everyone said that it's a good knowledge to learn. And there is a lot of not really up to date skills or up to date knowledge about SEO, and the industry is evolving fast. So, what's your suggestion for those who want to build the SEO team? How can they build the SEO team? Besides the finding the great people on the recruitment, what else do you see on building the SEO team?
Yeah, most people, most SEOs in general, they make the mistake of trying to, they have over time they've learned a certain amount of skill. And for many SEOs, it takes 3, 4, 5 years from you start learning to you start seeing some success. Now, what you don't want to do is you don't want to copy yourself. You don't want to take what you have and make a copy of yourself. And that's what many SEOs try to do. Business is fundamentally, like when you look at the core purpose of business and the core purpose of an organization, is the specialization of labor. So when you have a process and you ideally want to find a process, you want to, as a business, if you're starting an agency and you have one day you have an e-commerce client, the next day you have a local SEO client, the next day you have someone else, you have a hard time building a process that is getting executed repeatedly. When you look at successful companies, does many companies like Coca-Cola, McDonald's, whatever, they figure out one thing they're really good at, and then they just keep doing that same thing over and over and over again, right? And if you run a business, that's what you want to do. So a lot of time people say niching down, and a lot of time people then think, oh, that means that I should only work with dentists. And I'm like, it's not about that. It's niching down to a process. So the fundamental question is, what is the process? What is the one process that you execute again and again and again and again, right? So, for example, in our outsourcing company, our one process is really focused around recruitment and finding great people. And our one process is we can put a whole pile of job description into that process, and ideally outcome some great people, right? So our focus in that company is consistently optimizing this recruitment process. How can we have the best systems, the best testing, the best people in place, and the training for those people, and so on. When you look in SEO, it's often figuring out what is the SEO process that you want to execute repeatedly. And then what you want to do is you want to take that process and break it down into pieces, right? Because when you break things into pieces, if you have to train one person to know all the stuff you know, that's going to take you 2 or 3 years. And
Yes.
then you only have one person who can do that. And that's, they're more likely to go and do their own thing if they know all the stuff you know and all so on. Or if they were to leave for any other reason, you'd be having a big problem. However, when you instead train people block by block, what happens is that it's one, significantly easier to train them. So if you train up one person just to do link building, that obviously way faster, and you as a business owner start getting a return of what they're doing way faster, right?
Yes.
So instead of training them for 3 years to do link building, you can maybe train them for 2 weeks, and they can eventually get some kind of result. So that's fundamentally core. And then it's core to break down the process you have into pieces and then figure out what pieces or what are the most important personality and skill for each of those pieces of your process. So for certain pieces, it might be detail oriented. For some pieces of the process, it might be the ability to politely get shit done. For some piece of the process, it might be great ability to communicate with people. It could be different things at different parts of the process, but you then want to hire people that fit into those boxes that you're breaking down, and then you build systems around it. So that's fundamentally how you give yourself the easiest way to build a company that can scale quickly. Because when you break things down, let's say you suddenly want to triple the number of customers you have. If you know, okay, it takes me 2 weeks to train link builders, it takes me 2 weeks to train someone who put up sites, it takes me 2 weeks to do something else. You know that if you go out and hire a lot of people in a couple of weeks, you can get most of them somewhat proficient, and therefore you can scale your company significantly faster.
That's really good. Oh, wow. I got few aha from what you said. So,
Yeah.
based on your experience, what is the common mistakes that people do, the entrepreneurs do when they want to scale, they want to do it this process? What is the common mistake that they usually face?
So the one I just mentioned with not figuring out their sort of process is a big one. And I think a lot of the time, the way people look at business, most people are still having the mindset of being an individual contributor, not a business owner. When I look at a business, I think a lot about um, in proportionate returns. And what that means is that if you're an individual contributor, you get paid a certain amount of money per hour, and that's the way it is. You know what you have, you know what you're getting. But the second you're a business owner, it really becomes how do I make a bunch of different bets that have the chance of becoming worth significantly more. So a lot of the time, people are afraid of losing money, so they're afraid of trying things in business. But if you like, for a lot of companies, let's take a general SEO agency, right? A lot of the time, they're like, "Oh, I don't have any client. I don't have any client. I don't know how to get more clients," and that's an issue for them. So let's say they have figured out their one process. They are focused on one thing. They can execute. They can scale, right? And they're like, "Oh, I don't have enough clients." Well, the way I look at it is if you go and put, and this is just a random amount, but let's say you go and put $1,000 in 5 different things, right? So that could sometimes be paying like an agency who does it. That could be hiring someone to do something. It could be different things. But the whole point is you wanna make some bets from a business standpoint and say, hey, if I invest some resources in that's what we're doing here. If I invest some resources in doing a podcast, let's see if that can give us a bigger return than what we're putting into it. So let's say there's people who have started podcasts. They spent maybe $500 a month having an editor and doing some different things. So they're putting in $500. Now the thing is, if you have a very successful podcast, as example, it might not give some results straight away, but the potential return, if you have a very, very successful podcast, means that you might make hundreds of customers or thousands of customers from it, right? So this is the fundamental of business. So getting away from it's not about how can I invest 100 to make 200. It's about how can I invest in things that potentially can make me very, very, very high returns relative to the investment, right?
Wow, that's good. I love that one. So it's not about how you get money instantly, but there's a process, and you can see the potential in the at the end. Wow, that's good one. That's big one. But now we are living in the AI world. Like the ChatGPT is changing the landscape. The automation is become easier. How you see this in terms of how the business gonna scale, and of
Yeah,
course how in the SEO world, what you see, what's gonna happen.
mhm. Yeah, I think fundamentally from a business standpoint, it's not going to change a lot. The way things get done might change. So there might be things where humans can do a lot more. So there might be scenarios where one person can do 10 people's job, and that then allow you to get those 9 other people to do other things, right? So there's certain things that definitely become significantly easier, faster, and so on, and that enables fundamentally cheaper delivery. So it means you can deliver more service for a cheaper price because the cost for you, like before, let's say you have a customer, you charge them $2,000 a month, and you spend 1,500 a month delivering the service, right? Now, if you're 1,500, if you suddenly spend 500 delivering a service that a customer paid 2,000 for, you can do two things. You can either have a much higher profit, or you can lower your price and have a lot more clients because you can deliver more value for less money. Or you can do the last option, which is you can, instead of just spending 500, you can go in and do a lot more to get much better results for the same price. Right?
Oh. So the what's gonna happen with the people? What skills do people really need to gain with these changes?
I think fundamentally anyone in SEO don't need to worry because you're at the forefront of AI, and AI is going to take up a lot of capacity in the next 10, 20, 30 years, right? So people in SEO make this mistake that everyone now knows AI. And reality is, if you walk out on the street and ask 100 people, there'll be like two or three people that have any idea what AI is, right? So the thing is that being in a field like SEO, you're ahead of the curve. So what I recommend to all people is get to know AI, get to play with AI, get to start prompting, start doing things, figure stuff out. Because again, there's so many companies out there not using it, and if you learn how to use it, like if for argument's sake, like some people are maybe afraid of, hey, I used to be a writer, but I can't write anymore because now AI does it and people don't need writers. Well, your ability to do things with AI will be significantly more valuable than your writing skills used to be, if that is the case. And therefore, your ability to make significantly more money is higher because you are way, way ahead of the curve. Like the people now who have, if you as a human being, if you've spent 100 hours playing with ChatGPT, you're probably top 1%, if not lower, probably 0.5% of the world population right now, right? Like very, very few people have really
Yeah,
done that, right?
yeah,
So getting into that, investing time and effort into playing around with that is exceptionally valuable.
that's good one. Yeah, I didn't realize that. In SEO, everyone is talking about AI and everything, but maybe, as you say, people are the rest of the people don't know what is ChatGPT or how they prompt. Even they
Yeah.
don't have the account. We are
Yep.
using ChatGPT every day, so that's gonna be a different perspective that our listener can see. For so in the next few years, if there is a business aiming to compete with the industry giants in SEO world, or in the Gen AI, or in this upcoming trends that gonna happens, what will be your tips for them?
But spend the time, figure it out, right? Like AI is developing so fast. If you look at what it can do today, if you look a year ahead, you have no idea, right? Like the development of AI goes so fast. The core for me is stay up to date, keep playing with it, keep figuring out what you can do with it. And over the next 1, 2, 3 years, like the development is going to be so explosively fast that being ahead of the curve is really what matters more than anything. There's going to be so many opportunities to make money. There's going to be so many opportunities to run businesses. So yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I'm happy that you have. I have the same thought that you have. Like, the opportunity is so big.
Yeah.
So if you don't take it now, you will lose. Maybe you don't lose much actually, because
Yeah.
it's so big. The opportunity for a lot of area is very good. So, lastly, you gonna come to SEOCon Forum Bali this year. So excited to having you as the speaker in in this event. What you gonna discuss for this event?
Yeah, I'm both doing a workshop and a speech, and my focus is always about management, right? So, like one of the things I see with SEOs is they're always eager to learn one more SEO trick, right? So they've already learned a lot of SEO, and they're trying to improve like a tiny 0.5%. The problem is, honestly, most SEOs suck at business. The reason why they're not making money is not because they don't know the SEO. It's because they don't know business, they don't know management. So my recommendation is definitely spend more time learning those fields, and you will make exceptionally more money. Right? It is not like I run the SEO Mastery Summit, and I see 400 people where majority is able to make $100 million a year from the skill they have in SEO. The reason they're not is the lack of business and it's the lack of management skills. So I thoroughly suggest to people to really invest their time and spend more time and effort in learning more business in general, right?
That's awesome. I cannot wait. I'm gonna sit in front because I still need to learn how to manage people. It's one area that is keep improving, and I believe that you're the right person to read to learn from. So, yeah. Well, thank you, Max, for this time, this podcast interview. I believe I get a lot of gains. Do you have any last comment that you want to share with our listeners?
No, I'm just super excited to see everyone at SEOCon Bali, and yeah, definitely if you do come along and you have heard this podcast, you better come up and say hello because most people are shy. Don't be shy. It's a great opportunity to meet a lot of people and grow your network, which is critically important for business. So I look forward to say hello to you all.
All right. Thank you, Max, for this interview.
You're welcome.
How many aha moments that you got from this interview? I know I got few. It's a very good. It's so good to talk with Max. He got a lot of ideas, and you can implement what you learn, what you hear from Max into your business. Once again, thank you, Max, for having this interview. This podcast episode is brought to you by SEOCon Forum 2024 in Bali. It's 4 to 6 December 2024. If you haven't got the ticket, you need to check it out at seocon.id. We have a very limited space left, and I hope I can see you there. Hope you enjoy these episodes, and see you again on the next episode of SEO 911.